What's up, equestrian adventuresses, and welcome to the channel dedicated to helping you travel on equestrian adventures around the world. I'm your host, Crystal Kelly, and in today's episode, I'm actually going to be sharing with you my personal experiences with Yard and Groom and whether or not Yard and Groom is actually worth it. Is it sketchy? Are there some sketchy jobs on there? Is it safe? Should you be looking for horse jobs online using Yard and Groom? And that is what we're going to be covering today. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and like the video below. It actually helps the YouTube algorithm so that others can actually find our channel. So let's get right into it. Is Yard and Groom an actual safe place for you to do your job hunting for an equestrian job? In 2010, I was actually 21 years old and I had no clue how I was going to work internationally with horses, although that was a dream of mine. And in fact, I actually went to an equestrian international college thinking that when I got access to their job book, I would then be able to be given a book of jobs, which, nowadays we actually have that. We have a job book from Equestrian Adventuresses. So I didn't have that when I was 21, 10 years ago, when I was looking to work with horses internationally. I wish I had something like that. I didn't. So what I did is I went to Yard and Groom and I basically just started browsing around for different jobs. And, at that time, I really wanted to work internationally, so I wasn't looking for jobs in the United States. And I was just browsing around basically in any and every country that I could find that was somewhat related to show jumping, because that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to work as a show jumper. I'm just going to go ahead and set this one here. So when I started my travels at the age of 21, and I actually was on the plane to Belgium because I found a job on Yard and Groom, and I was actually to work with an Olympic eventing rider. Now since then I've met quite a few people that have worked for the same yard at the same stables, and things have changed quite a lot, it sounds like, but at the time, when I went to work there, I was actually working in exchange for lessons from an eventing Olympic coach. So that's sort of what I decided at the time would be feasible. I didn't know how to come up with the money for the plane ticket. The plane ticket was very expensive at the time. I didn't know anything about travel hacks or how to save money on flights and things like that. I was a very newbie traveler. And so I went to go work at this job, just temporary for 3 months as a working student, where I was a groom for an Olympic eventing rider. Now, because I was a very talented rider, she actually requested that I stay a bit longer, but I declined the job because I wanted to go travel the world and I had been bitten by the travel bug. So I then actually took my pursuit of working with show jumping horses and I went back onto Yard and Groom and I found my second job on Yard and Groom, which was the stables in Egypt. Now, this stables in Cairo was also a show jumping stables, and I was supposed to be giving the riding lessons in the evening, and in the morning I was supposed to just ride horses. Now, obviously the job was based on your riding ability, so I was a fairly good rider, so I actually rode a lot of horses, and I got some lessons from the FEI coach who owns the stables. And then in the evening, I was giving all of the riding lessons to the students. Later in my career, when I was still looking for a job, so I actually at this point had been abroad for long enough that I actually started to meet people. So I started to get jobs via word of mouth. So I didn't really have to go back onto Yard and Groom. When I left that job in Egypt after a year, I ended up getting a job in Romania, and that was via word of mouth because I knew the person and it kind of accidentally fell into my lap. So that is how I ended up working in Romania. After Romania, I actually ended up in Italy for a brief period of time. Now, Italy was a position that I had actually found via Yard and Groom, and what I had done is I had added that person on my Facebook. They had seen me traveling and working around in these different stables, and through Facebook, because they kind of saw that when I was leaving Romania that I was looking for another position, they actually reached out to me informing me that they had an open position at the exact same time that I was job hunting. So it was because of Yard and Groom, but also at the same time, not because of Yard and Groom, it was because of Facebook, but yeah, same thing. So I ended up going to Italy. I was there for about 2 months. I was in the island of Sicily. This is when my equestrian travels working with horses got a little bit strange. So I decided that I was going to go to India to work with horses. I had it in my brain that I wanted to go to India. And so I went on Yard and Groom, but there was only one job at the time that I found, and it was being a riding coach for children, and I just wasn't interested. So I decided, I'll just go there and I'll find something. So what I did was I ended up booking a flight, flying to India without any job proposals or anything. I couldn't even Google horse riding stables. I didn't find anything. So I just took a blind flight to India, and within a few weeks, because of word of mouth, I actually found several riding stables and people that were interested in me, and I ended up staying in India for 2 years, working at probably 10 or more different riding clubs, and I actually started a few riding clubs. Now, once I actually knew how to find jobs without using Yard and Groom, I stopped using Yard and Groom, but I continued to work internationally around the world. So since then, I've worked in countries like Bhutan, I've worked in Greece, I've worked in Greenland, I've done filming for our documentaries, obviously. We filmed in Brazil, riding Criollo horses, 750 kilometers in an endurance race. I've also worked in countries such as, where else have I worked? So the purpose of this video is I wanted to share with you some of my personal experiences, and I wanted to tell you how many times I've used Yard and Groom. So I've worked in 20 different countries with horses. So I've used Yard and Groom, I think, to get me 3 jobs. That was in the initial stages. And since then, it's been mostly either word of mouth or blind emails or a friend of a friend of a friend who reached out to me or something like this. So usually it's kind of word of mouth. Now, if you're sitting in America and you're kind of like how I was, 10 years ago when I was like, I've never even met somebody from, another country. How am I going to get a job in another country? It just seemed like an unfathomable process, and I had no clue how to get started. Now, Yard and Groom worked for me in the sense that it got me to actually take the leap to contact people that I could see that they were actually hiring, so I knew that they were looking for someone. I was confident in my riding abilities and my skills with horses, so I knew that whatever tasks they needed me to do, I would be able to impress them and then hopefully kind of work my way up the ladder, which did work. But I will say that these Yard and Groom jobs, they paid very little or basically nothing. And although I had a free place to stay and sometimes I had my meals covered, it was not a realistic long-term opportunity, and it wasn't a very long-term solution for me. So even when they requested that I stay a bit longer, still the pay was pretty awful, and so I didn't really see myself continuing using Yard and Groom for the future. Now, it's not just me, but I actually met a lot of other women who have used Yard and Groom to find jobs, and they all pretty much say the same thing as me. It's great to kind of get your foot in the door, and if you're totally fine being basically an equestrian slave, then more power to you, and it gets you the flight abroad, though they probably won't pay for your flight. So, yeah. Yard and Groom is what I would say exactly how it sounds. It is for people that just want to be working students or grooms. I would not take Yard and Groom seriously as a website as far as high-level job positions, because in my experience with horses, especially because, it's not an online business, horses is very much, can you ride, can you give good quality riding lessons? Are you actually certified? Are you trained? Do you have experience riding spooky horses or crazy horses? There's a whole lot of factors which require me to actually physically see you in person. So because of that and the nature of the equestrian business, working with horses, I would say that Yard and Groom is the place to go if you are a working student and you're just starting out. However, if you are a professional and you're looking for a high salary position, probably the best thing for you to do is actually either show up in that country and ask around, just literally drive to the stables and say, hey, I'm here. Are you hiring? Do you need someone? Because probably 90% of the time they will be interested and they will talk to you, or they'll refer you to somebody that they know who is looking for someone. Usually in these countries, everyone knows everyone, and so if they're not hiring, they know someone who is. The other thing that I would suggest is and you can find all of these tips in the book, okay, in our How to Work Abroad or Volunteer Abroad with Horses guidebook. You can actually find this book on Amazon. It's a paperback book, as you see. However, if you want a free ebook, okay, I am actually giving free ebooks. I'm going to put a link below so you can actually download this book completely free, along with our other books, our World Travel for Equestrians guidebook and our USA guidebook for equestrians. So all 3 of these books are actually totally free. All you have to do is tell me which email to send them to you. So I'm going to put the link below or above somewhere, okay? Go ahead and download these, because this book, really this is going to save you a lot of time. I wish I had this when I started traveling, working with horses. But yeah, basically the other suggestion, which you can find here in this book as well, is to possibly just contact stables and send blind emails. So if you don't, want to just take the risk like I did and just book a flight to a country and just kind of knock on their door and say, hey, are you hiring? Then what I would do is I would make a list, like a database of all of the stables in that country or in that area or in that state. And I would kind of just go through the list and email them one by one. Make sure you include their name, make sure you actually personalize it. Don't just make it some junk spammy kind of email. And actually say to them, hey, you know, I'm thinking about moving to your area and I would love to discuss with you the possibility of maybe working for you, or if you have a position available, you know, maybe we can schedule a phone call. So those are some tips that I would definitely recommend. And again, download our free ebook because there's 70 job ideas, more than 70 job ideas, which you can do with horses, which are actually people in other countries need these jobs, okay? They need you. If you're doing these things, they will hire you, okay? So download our book and you will get the list of 70 free things or 70 job ideas that you can do to actually work with horses in different countries. And you're also going to get access to, there are actual stables who've listed, that's why we call it a job book, their jobs. So they are hiring trail guides or, you know, whatever it is that they're looking for. And so they are requesting people, and so they hire regularly. They have open positions throughout the year. So you'll get access to the job book, which is found here. So you will actually see some of the stables which are hiring. So for example, I think there's a job in Peru, there's a job in Egypt. It's a different one than what I have done. But there's a job in Egypt, definitely. And there's a few others. So yeah, this is definitely worth it if you want to check out the Amazon, you know, get a paperback book. I mean, personally, I like paperback. But if you want the ebook, you know, that's totally free. Honestly, if I were you, I would go ahead and get the ebook and the paperback. But that's just me. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. And please, I would love it if you would comment below, you know, which tips of these you found helpful, or if you have any questions or concerns about, you know, working with horses abroad in other countries. I would love to hear from you. So please remember to comment. Thank you so much for watching and happy trails.